Hello and welcome to the National Road Safety Partnership Program webinar, Grasshopper Environmental's Safety, Sustainability and Productivity. Triple Treats drives businesses' success. So next slide please, Irene. For those of you who don't know me, that's me. I'm the Director of the National Road Safety Partnership Program and its many activities. To find out more, check out the NRSPP website, register for our newsletter, or follow us on social media such as LinkedIn. So next slide please. Today's session is going to go for around 60 minutes. We have plenty of time for discussion throughout. We have a couple of key question points through it all. We're recording this session today and it will be shared on the NRSPP website along with the PowerPoint. We do have 3 amazing speakers, so if we do run a little bit over, just forewarn you, and there's some amazing content that they're going to be sharing today. Next slide, please. We love your input and we like to make our webinars as interactive as possible. So please send through your questions by typing them into the question box here, and use the chat box as well to throw a few comments around. But we'll be mainly drawing on the questions. So please go through, because you never know, something might go wrong, and we have to draw on those questions to try and engage our panelists to follow up on them. So next slide. Now over to our presenters today. As you can see, we have 3 of them. We're kicking off. Our first presenter will be Irene Nori, Marketing Manager. Welcome, Irene.
Thank you, Jerome.
Excellent. Irene has played an integral role in the creation and implementation of waste education and awareness campaigns and developing strategies to help fulfill the company's mission of a waste-free future. Following on from Irene, we have Jeff Hugh, HSEQ and Compliance Manager. Welcome, Jeff.
Hi, everyone.
Jeff has over 12 years experience in managing safety across various industries. He's responsible for integrating health and safety, environmental and quality aspects into the organisational management systems of Grasshopper Environmental. And following on from Jeff, we have Ryan Noble, Fleet and Allocations Manager. Welcome, Ryan.
Thanks, Jerome.
Ryan manages a team of over 30 heavy vehicle drivers and has over 15 years experience in the waste industry. He plays a key role in research, development of safety features across the fleet. And look, there's going to be some cool things coming along as we move through this. I never thought I'd hear the term Patronus in a webinar, and we'll see some of the amazing efforts on a truck driver and what they've done there. So rather than me talking about it, let's dive on in. Over to you, Irene.
Thank you, Jerome. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Today my team and I would like to discuss how safety, sustainability and productivity can not only coexist, but are complementary forces that can drive business success. For Grasshopper, this combination has improved safety and environmental outcomes while fueling our success in forging partnerships across major contracts. So established in 1978, it's a little bit about us. Grasshopper have been providing professional, tailored and responsive waste management services for over 40 years to the building demolition sector, as well as the commercial and industrial sector. We service anywhere from the Sydney metropolitan area to the Blue Mountains and surrounding regions from our headquarters based here in Undell Park. And we have a fleet of over 30 trucks, including front lift, rear load, Morel and hook lift configurations. Our clients range from Tier 1 construction and government, infrastructure to hospitality, retail, manufacturing and industrial premises. And we have a portfolio that includes partnerships across some major projects. And these include the Sydney Light Rail, the Central Station upgrade, the M4-M5 West Connects, as well as the new Sydney Zoo. At the very heart of our operations, resource recovery, ethical waste management, and 100% environmental compliance has underpinned our commitment to environmental sustainability. And by focusing our efforts on this, we aim to better contribute to a circular economy and a brighter waste-free future for Australia. So despite our services being in the waste management industry, we don't lose sight of the fact that we also operate in the transport industry. And we don't lose sight of the associated risk in this industry as well. So for some context, here are some statistics of worker-related injuries and fatalities that belong to the transport industry, according to Safe Work Australia. So as you can see here on this screen, data shows that out of 183 fatalities recorded, 43% of worker fatalities and injuries were caused by by vehicle collisions. When looking at worker fatalities by occupation, the occupation with the highest recorded fatalities were machinery operators and drivers. And when looking at worker fatalities by industry, the transport industry recorded the second highest number of fatalities. So let's now look at what some of the risks that transport workers actually face on a day-to-day. Grasshopper is vigilant in reducing these risks, and that could adversely impact the safety of drivers, road users, and the wider community. In order to do this, however, it was important for us to understand what the root causes were and what are the driving factors behind industry-reported injuries and fatalities. Some of these very commonplace risks faced by road transport workers include time pressures. So tight deadlines within the transport industry can make drivers feel pressured and to speed and to skip those breaks. Shift work, fatigue, and physical fitness. Shift work is common in the industry, and working irregular hours can cause fatigue and have adverse effects on health and safety. Poor vehicle design. For transport drivers, we have to remember that their workplace is their vehicle. And so the design of the seat and vehicle controls, as well as the duration and frequency of they drive, will affect their risk, injury, and discomfort. Poor vehicle design and driving over rough roads can also increase exposure to vibration, which further increase these risks. Manual handling of heavy weights is another one. Loading and unloading vehicles often involves lifting heavy weights. And working at heights. So drivers of trucks regularly climb onto and off their vehicle, and falls are a cause of serious incidents. So with mounting pressure on the construction industry to divert construction and demolition waste from landfill, builders and developers are increasingly requiring waste disposal and recycling management solutions that can service these needs, all the while ensuring that safety is never compromised. So where is this pressure coming from? And what is the driving demand for sustainable waste options and greater safety standards in construction? Well, it's multifactorial. However, there are some very important drivers here. First one is the National Waste Policy. So the National Waste Policy sets a clear direction for Australia for the next 10 years. And through this policy, the Australian government aims to support development of best practice across all states and territories. We have the New South Wales Avoidance and Resource Recovery strategy as well. And some of the objectives of this is to increase recycling rates from commercial industrial from 57 to 70%, and in construction demolition from 75 to 80%. They also have the objective of increasing landfill waste diversion from 63% from 2010 to 75% by the end of this year. Next, we have the circular economy, and it's probably a terminology that you've heard quite a bit in the last few years. So over the last decade, a paradigm shift has been occurring in the industry. So with the adoption of a circular economy model, the circular economy aims to keep resources in use for as long as possible. In other words, the circular economy aims to eliminate waste and keep resources in a continually flowing loop. Next, we have the New South Wales Avoidance and Resource Recovery Strategy, and that's been driven by the hierarchy itself. So construction projects across New South Wales manage waste according to this hierarchy. And Grasshopper works closely with its customers to implement solutions for site office and construction waste to support this hierarchy. We have increasing landfill levies, and these tipping fees, these increases in cost competitiveness of recycling options, and they reward waste minimisation efforts. We also have driving factors such as ISCA and Green Star. So ISCA is, where ISCA improves sustainability outcomes for infrastructure. Green Star addresses waste minimisation in construction and demolition waste and rewards builders for it. We have other factors also, such as the China Sword Policy, which you may have heard about as well. As well as, lastly, I think something we experience quite a bit is that delivery partner expectations. So government infrastructure in particular, they aim to improve health and safety outcomes by driving best practice, innovation, and improved planning. Their decision-making is focused on influencing industry through strong leadership, setting standards for delivery partners, and a shared focus to manage safety risks. So looking at Australia's waste situation, the transport industry we operate within, the construction industry in which we provide waste management services to, and the general environment that is driving this need for greater safety and sustainability outcomes. How does Grasshopper then shape its service offering to maximize environmental outcomes without compromising on productivity or safety? So for Grasshopper, we believe having a holistic approach is key in achieving maximum environmental outcomes. So this means looking at each step in the waste management process and optimizing our services to meet these goals of safety, sustainability, and greater productivity. And it all starts off with waste management planning. So waste management plan involves input from the construction company as well as Grasshopper. The purpose of the waste management plan is to ensure that all risks associated with demolition and construction waste management are considered and managed effectively during construction, and to prevent any negative environmental impact on the surrounding environment or receiving facilities. The key objectives of the construction waste management plan is to determine how recycling and landfill diversion targets will be met. So the construction companies would actually let us know as to what these targets are. They will maximize the amount of material which is sent for reuse, recycling or processing. Another objective is to minimize the amount of waste sent to landfill. So when developing and implementing a construction waste management plan that maximizes sustainability, safety and productivity outcomes, Grasshopper considers the following elements. We look at the waste streams and we identify which waste streams are likely to be generated and estimate the amount of material expected. We undertake inventory of materials that can be recycled, recovered, suitable for waste to energy, and what needs to be sent to landfill. We identify possible contamination by hazardous materials like asbestos and common contaminants to recycling such as food waste. We understand how the waste management system will work on-site, including bin placement, ensuring skips and site bins are easily accessible, and by workers and Grasshopper driver site access. We determine storage requirements, size of the skips, the number of skips and bins on site. Safety considerations such as placement of skip bins so they can be managed safely, including limiting public access to the site. We also establish a collection and a delivery plan for waste and recyclable materials generated on site, identifying the traffic management procedures on site, and confirming who the site contactors are. All in all, a well-executed plan will ensure waste management at the location is practical and safe for those who will be using it while creating a clean and green build. Next in the process is on-site waste segregation. Now, cross-contamination waste is a commonplace issue experienced across construction sites. Grasshopper knows this from experience, that resource recovery works best when it starts at the site and when it's kept simple. So good resource recovery rates for materials achieved when materials are captured closer to the source, so actually on site, before there is an opportunity for mixing with other waste when it gets to the facility. To segregate waste, Grasshopper provides skips for specific types of waste materials, such as your timber, your plasterboard, your steel, etc. And this is really encouraged as on-site because it further reduces the volume of waste sent to landfill. Next in the process is the waste processing. So once it leaves the construction site and actually is at the actual waste processing facility, the waste is then processed by machine and hand sorting to extract all recoverable materials for reuse and recycling. Soil is screened, masonry is crushed, timbers and vegetation are mulched, while metals, glass, plastics and cardboard are sent for recycling. Whether it's gravel for a road, mulch for landscaping, new glass bottle for soft drink, the bulk of the waste stream is repurposed, while the remaining residue of non-recyclable material is actually processed into waste to energy. Now, waste to energy is an ideal solution for waste materials that have been deemed as non-recyclable. So this can include non-recyclable plastics, textiles, or treated waste timber. And these items would traditionally end up in landfill. However, the solution of converting waste to energy provides multiple benefits to the environment. It reduces the greenhouse gas emissions, it diverts waste away from the landfill, and forms part of a greater solution to fossil fuels. The waste to energy solution can significantly increase the green credentials and resource recovery rates for a construction project. Finally, our waste data reporting provides comprehensive tracking of the waste stream from collection through sorting and disposal, providing customers with an unbroken audit chain for every skip that leaves their site. Grasshopper, so as you can see here in the waste data reporting, we report on monthly reporting, project to date, destination breakdown, waste stream breakdown, total waste generated, total waste to energy. We look at the total recovered, the total that's going into landfill. And our reporting is ISCA and NGERS Green Star compliant. So we will report on those emissions. Okay, so Finally, our waste. So now that I've looked at all our services in depth and how we actually achieve productivity, greater sustainability, safety across each step of that waste management process, I'm going to hand you over now to Jeff, who'll take you further through our approach to safety. Over to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Irene. In general, productivity is possibly the biggest thing in a business. So while the purpose of business is to make profit, that's the basics, it's very unlikely that a business will survive and prosper if productivity is low. So in economics, productivity refers to how much output can be produced in a given input. Productivity increases when more output is produced or when output is produced with less inputs. So sometimes we might came across these questions. Is safety a stumbling block for productivity? And can productivity be optimized with the absence of safety? Or when accidents happen, how would it impact productivity? So before we talk about safety, let's look at the factors that affect productivities in the service industry. So research shows that in the service industry, productivity is predominantly affected by the skills and experience of the labor, training and education, communication between parties and such. So thus being productive has to be expensive. So let's look at the possible cost implication for WHS. So typically you might need to invest on training, safety features, technology and time. About WHS role, it is optional as most small and medium businesses engage consultant for the support. Also from the factors, we can see that the most of them are covered by WHS costs. And now let's look at the cost in the absence of safety. So on the left, we can see that the possible costs in a workplace accidents and illness. These costs are massive and variable. So the UK Health and Safety Commission in 2004, in a business case study, has concluded that by taking positive steps to prevent accidents and illness, benefits can be gained, including greatly reduced absenteeism rate, improved productivities, significant sums of money saved through better plant maintenance and such. So I'll say most importantly, employees are more happier with higher level of morale, motivations, and concentrations of work. This is further supported by a report published by University of Melbourne for Safe Work Australia in 2014. So the report concluded that investment in a better safety would provide a positive return of investment through reduced costs due to poor safety outcomes and improved productivities and other outcomes that actually add value to the business. So the previous slide was about the enterprise level. So now let's look at the global level. This graph was published by the International Labour Organization in 2006. It's sourcing from data from the World Economic Forum and also the Lausanne International Institute for Management Development, IMD. So with the data from ILO, the graph indicates that there's a strong correlation between the national competitiveness and the national incident rates for occupational accident. So let's look at the graph. On the left, you can see that the countries are more productive, who are more productive have a lower incident rate, while on the right, you can see countries with higher incident rate, they are less productive. So at this point, we cannot agree that investing in safety would actually boost productivity. So at Grasshopper, we believe that good safety is good business. This is our culture, this is the way how we work here, is our doctrine. We strongly believe that happy employee is more productive. When there's a safety need, budget is not a hindrance. So just a little bit of the context about us. In general, Grasshopper carries out waste collection and tipping tipping activities. Our workforce consists of office staff, workshop staff, and truck drivers. So about truck drivers, they are not just a driver. They liaise with the allocations in planning and managing their runs. They drive heavy vehicles. In the same time, they operate plant, hook lift, front lift, rear lift. They also communicate with customers directly, and they work approximately 12 hours a day. They service construction sites, and at Grasshopper, there's only one driver per truck. So in this business, despite of all possible control measures that we have put in place, we still heavily rely on the driver's capability when they are off-site. As soon as they leave our yard, we have a very limited control over their circumstances. So in the transportation industry, it's critical to understand the ability to accurately assess the risk in a situation, because it is pretty much at the personal qualitative level. So let me rephrase it. So the accuracy of risk assessment is very much based on the individual. So when carrying out a risk assessment, there's no right or wrong answers, but whether it's accurate or not. So it is dependent upon an individual's risk perception and risk tolerance. So in our case, when all possible controls are in place, it's really depend on the truck drivers to manage the situation when they are off-site. So risk perception is the ability of an individual to discern a certain amount of risk, while risk tolerance refers to the person's capability to accept a certain amount of risk. So these two concepts, while unique, are very much linked. So the inability to accurately perceive a risk may lead to a higher risk tolerance level, and which can encourage high risk behavior. So the factors that affect risk perception and tolerance can be categorized as macro, meso, and micro level. So these levels refer to the structural or institutional in nature, which is the macro level, or at the peer-to-peer or community level, which is the meso level, and at the individual psychological level, the micro level. So here are the interpretations for each level. So before working on the strategies on how to manage workers' behavior, it is important to understand that some relevant behavior theories and the science behind them. I will not go into details on this slide, but I just want to point out that this framework actually helped us in developing our safety pillars. So at Grasshopper, we manage safety at 3 levels. So the strategic, operational, and tactical level. So some of you might have heard of this before. Yes, it is adopted from the modern military theory called the 3-level war. At this level, we have instilled some critical pillars. So these pillars become our strategies and targets. So these pillars also play an important role in managing the entire organization's behavior. So they are comprehensive. They address each issues on the macro, meso, and micro level. So for example, people take risks because of peer pressure or the general community perception that the activities is actually low risk. This is the organizational level. It's about culture. So here we are very clear that you shouldn't miss a break. You should always check your truck scale. You should strap the bins. You should wear hard hat and such. So we tell the drivers that we are expecting low risk behavior. We issue non-conformances. We bring up issues during drivers' meetings. We do all we could to keep this healthy, good reporting culture. Another example, like, so at the individual level, defense driving is critical. So people tend to take more risks when they feel a greater sense of security. In this case, by adding safety features to the vehicle, it actually encourages drivers to abandon their defensive driving skills because they feel adequately protected. So at Grasshopper, we have our drivers assessed by on a regular basis by an external driving instructor. So the instructor will assess them and correct their driving habits. And by engaging a subject matter expert, we believe that we are able to maintain our drivers' situational awareness skill and defensive driving behavior. So as I mentioned before, as the drivers leave the yard, they're exposed to risks on the road, at the customer side and on tipping side. So on the right, you can see that those are the associated hazards that they are constantly managing 12 hours a day, every day of their career. So of course, we intend to minimize the risk as much as possible at the strategic and operational level. But as an enterprise, as an enterprise, we assess the risk at the very beginning, which is during customers onboarding. So risk is communicated between our sales rep and the customers. From there, we can minimize the risk by agreed arrangements, such as the locations of the bin, the site entrance and exit, traffic management, and other site hazards. So, and also our allocators are very well versed with the chain of responsibility rules and fatigue standards. Hence, we are able to keep our drivers within their standard work hour and always ensure that rest breaks are being taken. So when it comes to overloaded and overweighted bin, and also some other unsafe conditions, we always tell them to fail the job and move on to the next job. So, so this is our risk appetite. We will avoid any chances which could cause cultural or values change. On the health and safety, our approach is averse. We have no tolerance on misconduct, any deviations from policy and procedures, and anything that could cause loss of life or serious harm. We will never compromise activities that do not support regulatory compliance. So, so it's always a challenge when managing drivers. At the very beginning, at the selection phase, we have them completed a driving test with our external driving instructor. So from our record, majority of the candidates actually failed the test and unable to carry on to the next stage. We then induct the successful drivers onto our integrated management system, heavy vehicle operations induction, and truck-specific training. So the new drivers will then buddy up with our internal trainer and assessor for the on-job training. And so here we have our own trainer and assessor. So our own trainer and assessor, they are actually the current drivers who completed the trainer and assessor course. They meet regularly to design and improve our training materials and complete the training needs analysis. So we regularly conduct worker safety performance review. This predominantly to ensure that drivers are performing work as per JSA and work instructions. This is also an opportunity to interact with them and understand the issues that they are facing. So now I'm going to pass this to Ryan, our branch manager.
Just before we go on to you, Ryan, if that's all right, we'll just throw a few questions in and then we'll get moving, because I think this has been absolutely fantastic hearing Irene giving us the big picture of Grasshopper, and Jeff, I think I learned so much in how you talk around the culture and what you sort of did. And we've got a question here from Kim saying, are the hubs which Grasshopper has around Sydney So are there hubs around Sydney where the different construction waste types can be taken, or does every waste recycle company have their own individual sites?
Both. So you've got companies that have their own, but however, Grasshopper, we have our integrated, we have a supply network that we use. And a lot of them, some of them specialize in different things. We've got waste to energy, yeah, but we have a network of supplies that we use.
Awesome, thanks for that. And question here from Tali as well. Can you please elaborate on the energy from waste processes you complete and how these vary across each state? That's a big one for you.
I cannot comment for the other states, but for New South Wales, so it's when we look at the waste hierarchy, which most construction companies, they follow this waste hierarchy. Reuse is obviously the most preferred, and as you move down further that pyramid, you'll have reuse, recover waste, recycling waste, and then waste to energy before it's treated and sent to landfill. So it is a last resort before it goes to landfill. The materials that are sent for waste to energy are usually considered traditionally non-recyclable. So these, you treated timbers, some plastics, not every material can be recycled. So this is a last resort before it goes to landfill. And that gets converted, to waste to energy. And currently right now, Grasshopper, that what that waste is converted to is called PEF, so process engineered fuel. And that's actually used to fire up the cement kilns. So your borrel and all that. So that's, so we know that they provide solutions for waste energy here in Australia, but they also provide towards international markets like Singapore as well. So that's Sydney.
Wow, awesome. Right. Thanks for that, Irene. And Jeff, I just got a question for you. You're saying how if a bin or something's overloaded or there's some problems with that, your drivers fail and move on. Did that take long to create a culture or confidence in the drivers to do that? And how does that reflect back into the customers as well when suddenly the bin hasn't been shifted? How do you deal with that as well?
So these have been implemented for a while. So pretty much we let our drivers know that, you know, if it's not safe, if it's overloaded or what, take a photos and send it to the allocations. So the allocations team will actually assess it and say, okay, this is not right. So we're going to tell the customers that, hey, you know, the bin is overloaded, you know, we can't take that, you know, you have to, you know, segregate it yourself. And yeah, pretty much communication with customers are very important. In the same time, our drivers will not take the risk to pick up any overloaded bins.
It's fantastic to hear that, because I guess that's one of those key measures that you've empowered the drivers that they can have the confidence to make that call as well. So,
yes.
Did it take much in building that? You said it's been in place for quite a while. Did it take much to build the confidence up for the drivers to do that?
Because we have incidents that happen because you know, like previous drivers who actually took the overloaded bins and such, and then they got injured and stuff like that. So we learn from lesson. So from there, you know, we have regular toolbox talks and briefing and such. So with that thing, pretty much we instill that that culture to our drivers, telling them that, hey, you know, the previous driver did this and did this happen. This actually happened to them. So for you guys, you know, never attempt to take the risk. So this is how we instill the low risk behavior, you know, to our drivers.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Jeff. We'll move on to Ryan now. We can really now hear about the driver angle, and then we'll have a good discussion at the end.
Thanks, Jerome. Operating in the waste management sector, providing services that include recycling and waste energy, sustainability, and sound environmental practices are central to Grasshopper's operation. We consider sustainability and productivity to be clearly linked, and safety is strongly connected to both. With the three factors combined to create a proactive workforce that delivers clients and staff on all fronts. So Grasshopper's always had a safety first approach in operations and the delivery services for the safety of our employees, customers, and the general public. Over the past 4 years, though, Grasshopper has undergone a remodelling of its overall approach to safety. Previously, Grasshopper, similar to many logistics companies, spent time reacting to changes in industry regulations surrounding fleet safety, and we actioned it accordingly. This is a method for growth and implementation regarding safety. However, this also comes at a cost of waiting for an incident to occur before the need for change is recognised. Our growth in safety practices over the past 4 years has gone from a reaction-based approach to what the approach is today. That is informed through investigation, collaboration, feedback, and learning through industry data on incidents, both in the waste transportation and general transportation. So this graph you can see gives you an indication of the incident rate within Grasshopper over the past 4 years. We're going to use it as a bit of a timeline on both identification, review, and implementation over the past 4 years. So I'll be taking you through a bit of a journey, explaining what has informed our approach every step of the way, what actions we took, and how this has affected our overall incident rate. So our journey begins in 2018, a year that brought significant change to Grasshopper's fleet requirements. The business required growth in the fleet, which also with it brought opportunity to improve. In 2018, Grasshopper introduced 2 new vehicles into the fleet in the form of FE Volvos. The FE Volvo safety features, which we didn't have on a lot of our fleet, in the form of front underrun systems, great visibility, daytime running lights, and emergency braking. So these features alone assisted with several root causes from previous years' incidents. Grasshopper also wanted to enhance the visual capabilities for our operators. So through feedback from our team, we introduced a 4-way camera system and DVR system. So these low set cameras were able to cover a portion of known blind spots on heavy vehicles. And since the introduction of these cameras, we identified a reduction in incidents relating to blind spot root causes. Managing our fleet legal mass, it's seen us engage Accuway to supply, fit, and maintain onboard scales. Calibration of these systems occur every year or as required. If identified by the operator that there's a substantial variance between their onboard scales and the weighbridge that we attend, we action accordingly. So also with the purchase of new fleet vehicles came the realization of the complexity required to actually maintain these vehicles. Working with Volvo, Scania, and Isuzu, Grasshopper set each vehicle on a service and maintenance agreement. Working with each manufacturer and building a relationship based on the understanding of Grasshopper requirements has given us comfort that no vehicle has left the workshop unroadworthy. And this has led to very minimal downtime with the Grasshopper fleet. And it also gives us the security of knowing that there's no guesswork involved when it comes time for repairs. In 2018, we also engaged with NHVAS to obtain accreditation in the maintenance module. Our fleet achieved compliance and accreditation by effectively meeting all 8 maintenance management standards. This is including fleet maintenance, checks, repairs, record keeping, and driver education. Although the requirements for re-registration is not to have an inspection under the maintenance agreement, Grasshopper incorporated the equivalent of that RMS inspection to be undertaken every 350 engine hours to every vehicle in the fleet, as well as being performed on every basic and annual service that's completed. So 2019 brought more opportunity for improvement. That's when Grasshopper entered into works with Sydney Metro for central station upgrades. This propelled Grasshopper into ensuring that Sydney Metro plant requirements were met. Grasshopper, having predominantly European vehicles, gave us a bit of a head start already, with either having or having had retrofit class 5, 6 mirrors and the like. The construction of Sydney Metro alongside other major infrastructure projects involves the transportation of millions of tonnes of excavated spoil and construction materials and waste. Recognising the potential impacts of the project's significant transportation task, Sydney Metro introduced key initiatives with its supply chain partners to minimise road safety risks during construction by applying the safe system approach to road safety. These included applying minimum heavy vehicle safety standards to reduce heavy vehicle blind spots and improve vehicle safety and visibility. This included blind spot elimination through mirrors, camera systems, side underrun protection, enhanced vehicle markings, vehicle monitoring systems, and vulnerable road user warning decals. Ensuring all frequent heavy vehicle drivers working across the project's multiple sites complete committees and project's low-risk driver programs. So we're just going to watch a short video on that.
Delivering Australia's biggest public transport project is a major task. Sydney Metro is expanding construction to more parts of the city, with billions of dollars in rail infrastructure to be delivered in the next decade. These projects will create an unprecedented freight task on the city's road network to support construction. We recognise that the risks don't stop at the hoarding, and our responsibility extends into the community. At Sydney Metro, we are mindful of the impacts that our projects have on local communities and are committed to ensuring that our road transport activities are safe during the delivery of our projects. To achieve this, we are driving innovation and adopting best practice technologies and equipment to improve vehicle safety, eliminate heavy vehicle blind spots, and monitor construction vehicle movements, providing specific construction driver training to understand route constraints, safety and environmental considerations, such as sharing the road safely with vulnerable road users. And through the careful planning and design of construction activities, we are working to minimise truck movements and reduce our impacts to local communities in which we operate. Together, we are contributing to Sydney Metro's success, providing a positive road safety legacy for years to come.
So, side underrun protection was Grasshopper's next point of call. And having several different cab chassis and different lifting equipment, this proved to be the most difficult to implement onto our vehicles. Each vehicle required custom fabrication of some sort. However, we overcome this obstacle in-house by working with our in-house fabricator and guidance from our local engineer. So between the two of them, they help incorporate each side underrun system within a month on each vehicle. This video gives you an idea of the importance of side underrun and the behavioural part of the driver. This incident did happen within Grasshopper and very recently. Fortunately enough, everyone walked away, but we'll play this incident so you can see the effects of side underrun. So thankfully enough, everyone walked away from that incident. Both vehicles were damaged in some way, but the main point is that everyone walked away unscathed. An absolute great reaction from the driver, and it works with what Jeff was talking about in regards to behaviour. He reacted in a manner that was expected from a heavy vehicle driver nowadays and a professional driver. So Grasshopper's fleet signage was actually also upgraded at this time to incorporate enhanced reflective markings, significantly amplifying the vehicle's visibility in low light conditions. Handbrakes alarms were also retrofitted at this time to the remaining fleet. Sadly, this was in response to a incident fatality within the industry. In an industry that requires an operator to frequently enter and exit their vehicle throughout the day, there's a very high risk of that vehicle handbrake to be easily forgotten, allowing the possibility of injury, or in this instance, it was worse, it was a fatality. So the introduction of handbrake alarms were introduced. All right. Once again, 2020, the requirements for fleet growth opened yet another opportunity for fleet upgrades. In 2020, Grasshopper received the first of the Scania P450s. These vehicles were an upgrade from our current P440s, with the additional safety features such as advanced emergency brake, lane departure warning, and electronic stability control. Further additions were also made to our Morale fleet, including tarp towers on the back of the majority of the Morales. And this prevented the requirement for an operator to get up on the back of the deck above his legal limit. So these vehicles were actually also the first to have the onboard fire suppression installed for cabin and engine compartment protection. Having the additional technology on our fleet also presented further opportunity actually to work within the Sydney's new tunnel construction works. So towards the end of 2020 and into 2021, Grasshopper experienced a near miss, thankfully. In this particular case, our operator was preparing a tip-off at a facility. Whilst he was opening his rear door, another heavy vehicle had reversed too close to him and it started to unload. This caused the employee to quickly take action and remove himself from harm's way. After investigation, the root cause was identified to be the other vehicle failing to determine a safe distance between himself and our vehicle. It was at this time that Grasshopper obtained the services of Gotcha Products, who has since implemented and developed the Patronus system. This technology, already utilised within the mining industry and warehousing industry, is to visually establish a safe distance and applied it to our vehicles to perform the same task in low lighting. Along with that, Gotcha also implemented an audio alert for the use of when beacons and Patronus is activated. This is to allow pedestrians and workers on site that the vehicle is in operation and to keep clear. So that's particularly important in regards to loading and unloading, specifically for hooks. An example, a hook lift cannot select gear when he's loading on a bin, which means he cannot activate a reversing warning or reversing lights. So with the Patronus, it's given the ability to warn pedestrians through the natural identification of red meaning stop, and an audio alert to caution them on the dangers of a moving/loading vehicle. Just going to play a small clip of the device.
Caution, vehicle operating, please stay clear. Caution, vehicle operating, please stay clear.
So the use of these devices predominantly or only on job sites, and our drivers are told to use these, especially during the tipping facilities. Operator monitoring, is assisted using a telematic system. Through this system, we monitor the driving styles of our operators. That's in the form of harsh braking, excessive acceleration, speed, and harsh cornering. So these driving styles is measured and it's monitored daily. Continuous improvement. So with new technology and the implementation of that technology, unfortunately comes with it complacency and reliance on that technology. So changing the behaviour and to a degree the responsibility accepted for incidents by operators. The adoption of the new technology and constant improvements over the past years has made a substantial difference to Grasshopper's incident rate. Grasshopper does, however, ensure that all operators are fully aware that the technology is only there to enhance and assist in making the right decision. Ultimately, technology advancements in safety systems has the potential to become void if not accompanied with the culture of behaviour, management and ongoing monitoring and review. Grasshopper operators are consistently informed and educated on that fact that technology alone cannot prevent incidents. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Ryan. Great story. And I think it's been fascinating seeing the whole journey as you've gone along the way. And I think one of the things I found most powerful through the narrative is how Grasshopper Environmental recognises a key component of it is the transport business, and then how we've heard how you've applied that. So I've got a query here from Kim Hassel. Is most waste removal done by using skips, or do you use rigid truck and dogs, or both? And does the fleet use higher mass limit or even PBS trucks?
No, predominantly our work is done via our hook trucks and skips. And we generally run off the standard RMS limit.
Thanks for that. So please shoot through some questions. I've got a number myself I'm going to be throwing at and putting forward as well. So when you're going through, you're talking around getting drivers to understand the limits of technology. Have you found that? Has that been a hard journey to get them to understand that there is no silver bullet?
Yeah, it's probably been one of the hardest things is introducing the technology, getting it accepted by the drivers. And truck drivers have always been a little bit standoffish when it comes to new technology and adopting it. But luckily enough, we have a really good bunch of people here that has accepted their technology. But once again, it's instilled in them that the technology is only there to assist them. Ultimately, it's their actions and reactions that determine the safety of themselves and everyone around them. And they've accepted that, which is great.
How have they found the, I guess, the transition to increasing camera technology and those sort of components into the vehicles? Have they been receptive of that, or they get more exhausted? What's the sort of feedback there?
There has been, obviously the same with anything, when you're putting a camera on a vehicle, a bit of bite back about it. But for the most part, all of our staff has been accepting, because it's essentially there to protect them, as well as a business. But there's been many cases where there have been incidents that are part of that, form that graph, that have actually protected the driver and the company. Because generally when you have an incident and there's a heavy vehicle involved, all eyes are generally fixed on the heavy vehicle first. But having that technology on board secures what you've done if you have been safe. And it's worked out really well.
I guess we should probably point out to everyone, the video footage of that truck interacting with that light vehicle, the driver did an amazing job, and there is sound with it, but I believe probably his reaction was a little bit colourful to share.
That's a diplomatic way to put it.
Well, I think it's quite amazing. They could see it and how he shifted, and and you hear this story all the time. Quite often they do it, and they're always scanning. They're so self-aware in how they're going. So, just a question across for you, Jeff. When you're talking about risk perception and risk tolerance, and I guess that risk tolerance angle, how does that change over time, do you think, with the age of people, and whilst they're on the duty as well? Because I guess, in particular, young males, their risk tolerance is quite high until their brain sort of matures a bit. But how have you found it in interacting with your workers?
Yeah, that's pretty challenging, to be honest. The thing is, with the existing drivers, we are sharing the culture already. So it has been already a culture. It's been it's already Grasshopper's culture that, to always, take to behave in that way. So whenever a new driver come in, they have to live in this culture. Sometimes we came across new drivers that just join us and have the habits that bring the habit here from other places. So the thing is, in this 2 weeks time, our trainer assessor will actually assess the new driver, even though he have passed his driving test and medical assessment and all that. There's still like 2 weeks body up session. So from there, we can actually look at his behavior, look at the person's behavior, and see if we could impose a high risk to us. So it's like, so the culture is already there. So whenever new person come in, they just have to learn our culture.
I love it. What a great answer. Question here from Tim. Several of your safety innovations have been based on client requirements. How do you go about educating other customers with less awareness on the value of these? What a great question.
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Sure. Several of your safety innovations have been based on client requirements. How do you go about educating other customers with less awareness of these, on the value of these?
A lot of the innovation that we have put on has been helped along with Sydney Metro. As far as educating other clients, they obviously see the vehicles show up, and they do ask questions on why we do have, this particular stuff on our trucks. And a lot of them say, is it to look pretty or not? And the drivers are well aware of why we have these certain things on trucks, and they're happy to inform everyone why my truck looks a certain way, why we have these lights on board, why I've got a lady singing in the background saying that, keep clear. And generally it's met with good feedback and understanding. We have had some pretty decent feedback saying that the lady's a little bit annoying, to which the drivers say, that's great, that means it's caught your attention, it means you're paying attention. So.
And that's great. That's where I think this next question is a really good one as well, from Tim, just building on that. With a system like Patronus, is this automatically engaged, or is there a driver discretion to activate it?
No, so Patronus is automatically engaged once your beacons are on. General rule of thumb is you cannot have the beacons on road, nor can you have the Patronus running on road. So it's advised to all our operators to turn their beacons on so they're visible on any job site that they're on. As soon as you have your headlights on, obviously Patronus turns on with it, and so does the audio alert. So it's based on the principle that if your beacons are on, that means you need to be seen and that you're a hazard, or you can become hazardous, hence the warnings that come on with the beacons.
And the side underrun, you mentioned they took like sort of a month to get them sort of fitted to your vehicles. Was it really problematic? Was it hard, or was it? What's your sort of thoughts?
It was more because every cab chassis that we owned, it wasn't exactly all the same. We too went through a stage where we bought trucks and put a little bit here and a little bit there, not thinking that further along the line we want to put side underrun on. So it was basically just fitting the system. There wasn't a one answer fits all trucks. So we took each truck individually and created bracketry, making sure that with our engineer that it'd suffice. So it did take a little while, but then when we finally got into the momentum of it, it's now just part of what we order in our fleet.
Has it been problematic on any sites? Like, because you hear some of these arguments, it'll get knocked off, it'll get ripped off and all this sort of stuff. Has there been any problems like that?
There hasn't been any problems. There has been a bit of feedback in regards to why we stick it on, to which we don't really answer. I mean, anything that's going to have a safety effect on it, whether it's going to get damaged. As long as it has a safety aspect to it and saves someone from getting injured, we just replace it.
Awesome, guys. We're just coming to the end of the hour now. So what I'll do is I'll just close out with each one of you and just ask, if I can ask you just to leave one little message, just one take-home thought to everyone who's listening in. So Irene, I'll throw to you first. What's one take-home thing you'd like everyone to draw on from what you shared?
Okay. For me, I'm all about sustainability. So I think no matter what operation you're running, or no matter what business you're in, maybe looking at the sustainable waste options, I think that's my passion. And so that's the comment that I'll leave with you, is look at your operations and look how you can optimize it for greater sustainability and waste management outcomes.
Love it. That's what I'm looking at. It's fantastic. Jeff, what will be yours?
Yeah, I'll say in managing safety, we just have to balance safety 1 and safety 2, and do some safety research and all that, because in the end of the day, we want a evidence-based safety. We want a risk-based safety. We don't want to just talk about experience and it's not much solid evidence or research-based safety. Yeah.
That's great. And I think that looking at those changes when you're bringing things in, it was things popped up from industry incidents and you guys responded straight away. And I love seeing that through your journey. And Ryan, what would be yours?
I think for mine, it's the adoption of safety technology and the willingness to adapt as time goes on. But also in the same sense, realizing that technology isn't exactly the answer without the proper training of your drivers. So it goes hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. So the safest operator you can have is someone that's willing to accept the new technology and utilize it properly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, the three of you, for taking your time, expanding on the case study that you've done with us and take us on the journey that is Grasshopper Environmental, and how we balance out sustainability and productivity and efficiency. And thank you to everyone who is listening in today. This will be shared. A link will be going out. Please complete the survey as well. We'll welcome your feedback. And next month, we're catching up with Sutherland Shire Council and hearing around their operational systems as well. And there's a number of things in the pipeline as well. So thank you all very much. Take care, and if you're in lockdown, thoughts are out with you as well, and it appears Victoria might be around not far from it as well. So thank you all again for your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.